And welcome back to Get Connected Live with Graham Williams, that's me, Kali Readwin, John Biehler. Today we've got something really cool. What are we talking today?
May the 4th be with you. We're talking about Star Wars today, all the tech implications, what we love about it, what we nerd out about, and who better to talk to about Star Wars geekery than these two. So let's get started with Graham. What does it mean to you? And tell me, what do you own? What's on your games list? What do you listen to? I assume you own all versions of all of the movies.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
So a couple of things. Star Wars, what does it mean to me? It's the prototypical hero's journey, right? You've got Luke, you've got Leia, you've got Han. The idea of the three of them, with the rebellion, overcoming insurmountable odds and overthrowing this empire, that to me has always been just a fantastic story that I can watch over and over and over again.
As a storyteller, that is a very important thing.
I teach storytelling, and so I actually use it as an example in a couple of my courses. So I love that. As far as the things that I own, I mean, this is I want to say a hobby, but almost a habit that's been going back to, for me, the mid '80s, because that's kind of when I remember seeing Star Wars for the first time. And I've got a poodle at home. His name is Solo.
Sometimes he's here. You might see Instagram photos of him.
He's a little black coat with a little white vest, so he's my Solo. My online handle is 3PO, and my car actually is called Parked Vader. So
that's excellent.
That's kind of a thing. I've been collecting Star Wars memorabilia and playing the games for years. I was a huge fan of the original Jedi Knight game, the original TIE Fighter Flight Sim, probably one of my favorites. And I mean, to this day, even playing things like Star Wars Battlefront 2 on my PlayStation 4, absolutely love playing Star Wars games. And do I own all of the movies on all of the formats? I do. I've actually, probably the rarest version that I have is the Asian region VCD, a video CD. So this was sort of the format between VHS and Laserdisc that was kind of cool.
Cool.
So that's Star Wars for me.
Nice. Okay. And what about you, John? What does it mean to you?
Well, I actually got to see Star Wars Episode 4 on opening day in 1977. So for me, I was a 7-year-old boy. It sort of set the tone for what science fiction could be for me. And like Graham, it's the hero's journey. It's my first sort of foray as a young boy into this notion of a space opera, if you will. Right? So the idea that this could happen in space, this could happen in the Old West, similar stories, but more relatable to me because there's robots, droids, spaceships, and that type of thing, right? So, and it has been a part of my life ever since. I remember when Return of the Jedi came out, I was living in northern BC at the time, and the local theater had this amazing weekend adventure for kids. You could bring your sleeping bag and watch all 3 movies on opening day in the big lead up. So you spent the whole day at the theater with all your friends and sleeping bags and popcorn. That was pretty amazing.
Like the Lord of the Rings trilogy or any other trilogy that came out. Yeah. You did the full meal deal.
The full meal deal.
Nice.
My claim to fame on that one, I did 11 Marvel movies in a row before Captain America Civil War. At the Scotiabank Theatre in downtown Vancouver. AMC was actually doing all of them, which I believe was about 45 hours of movies before the 3 hours of Endgame last week.
And you actually camped out for Phantom Menace, didn't you?
I did. So getting back to Star Wars, I did camp out for Phantom Menace when I was a kid. It was something that I had gone to go see previews for this. I'd actually gone to go see movies that I wouldn't have gone to see just to watch the preview of the Phantom Menace because I knew it was before this thing. And so a bunch of my friends and I, we actually had a Star Wars club in high school.
A Star Wars club?
Yeah, I wanted to steal my own lunch money. And so we ended up there. We had the soundtracks, we had a video game system, we had tents, there was a Taco Bell really nearby, which was totally regrettable.
And you're also a DJ. I know that you've just started trying that out. Have you done any Star Wars remixes? You incorporated any?
We were talking a little bit about the Star Wars disco track earlier, and yes, I have played around with that, and I think you may hear it in one of my future mixes very soon.
Yes.
I use all kinds of samples from Star Wars in my Eurorack noise-making system synthesizer that I built. So it's something so relatable and something so familiar, but when you actually put it through some filters and some processing, it's still familiar and still comfortable, but completely different.
And so John's background is in 3D printing as well. How many 3D printer projects have you taken on that are Star Wars related?
Far too many for the scope of this video. One of the things I always do when I get a new printer is I print off a little coaster of the Imperial Empire symbol or a Millennium Falcon, because one of the guys at MakerBot actually designed a really awesome, fully printable Millennium Falcon with the landing gear attached and everything like that. And it's a really difficult print, so it's a really good sample to sort of test out a new printer.
And I know that you you had a Star Trek guest once fully 3D printed as a person, as a little mini.
Well, I got to meet George Takei,
Yes.
and he agreed to let me 3D scan him.
Yes.
And I gave him a little printed bust of himself, and he thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So-
Any Star Wars ones?
Not yet.
No? Not
No,
yet.
my closest claim to fame with Star Wars is I got to meet David Prowse, who played Darth Vader in the original movies once. So,
Nice.
Apparently, he didn't know that he'd been dubbed until he showed up for the premiere.
Really?
which would have been horrifying.
Yeah, come on, guys. I think he had like a very thick British accent as well.
Well, and if you've ever seen some of the behind the scenes, you actually hear him giving the lines,
Yeah.
especially when he's doing the thing with the Captain Antilles
Yes.
in A New Hope. You actually hear him giving, the very forceful lines, but then we all remember the one that he was dubbed with, right?
Yeah.
So, but it's just really kind of jarring to hear
Jar-jarring.
George.
Seriously, David was expecting David, and he got James Earl Jones instead, and that's gonna be rough at the theater.
Well, apparently there was some things between him and Lucas, and that might have contributed to why he got overdubbed. But
Interesting.
yeah,
And how do you think Star Wars specifically, but also science fiction as a whole, how do you think that's impacted technology, the stuff that we use every day?
well, one of the great things about science fiction is how inspiring it can be. It's like, here's a really interesting approach from a technological standpoint to solving a problem, and it tends to inspire scientists and makers and just people in general to want to make that thing become real. So quite often there's quite a big list of things that were once science fiction that are now real, like 3D printing.
Yeah. So I was chatting about the magic of the experience of going to CES and having chocolate 3D printed for me, and that totally brought me back to watching TNG. And I know it's not Star Wars, but it totally brought me back, and it was really inspiring to see something that you thought would never happen in your lifetime. Like, please give me 1 unit of food, and now I can eat it. Like, that's really cool to me.
It's one portion.
Yeah. What about you? Tech in your life that has been inspired by Star Wars, do you think? Or Star Trek?
I think the rule of cool that kind of came out of Star Wars in 1977, where, like, you take a look at science fiction up to that point, and you had 2001, you had Battlestar Galactica, you had Star Trek, you even had Star Trek the motion picture a year later, and it was all kind of very cerebral, very ponderous, and we had this action flick, which I think you mentioned, the Old West.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
It's
kinda
like the
similar.
Old West in space. If you take a look at how it influenced design through the 1980s.
Well, and how dirty Star Wars was compared to those other movies you mentioned, which were very clean and futuristic.
Yeah.
So
And we did see Lucas kind of go back with the Phantom Menace and the prequels, and he did clean it all up with this beautiful, pristine world, because maybe we wanted to see what it looked like before it got this bad. But looking at all of that cool technology, seeing things like jetpacks and grappling hooks and
Yes.
laser swords, I really do think that after the flamethrower, I'm hoping Elon Musk turns his eyes towards the lightsaber. 'Cause
the boring lightsaber.
we could do something
The
with
boring
that,
lightsaber.
so.
That was my favorite and only Star Wars toy as a kid. We had the green one, and it would extend, and you could hit stuff with it. I hit my brother with it, and wow, 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 and it was just. That's like
In grade 6,
iconic.
our school got one of the first video cameras to produce content within the school, and me and my friends spent far too long reenacting Star Wars. I may have been guilty of being Luke, and the cutest girl in the class was Leia, and I got to practice the swinging from the grappling hook
Yep.
scene just because it was fun to practice. Sadly, those tapes have disappeared.
Right on. And what do you think about May the 4th for you right now, this year? What does it mean to you? What are you doing to celebrate?
Well, one of the things we should mention is Chewbacca is no longer
Yes.
with us.
Rest in peace. Can you do a Chewie?
I cannot.
I can maybe do a Chewie.
Let's hear it.
Can you do a Chewie?
I can try it.
Okay. Rest in peace, Chewie. Oh, no. Oh.
That's good.
Ah, there we
That's
go.
good.
Not bad.
Peter Mayhew, great actor. I think that's
Show us your Chewie.
yeah.
In the comments, send us a video.
Typically I will go back and I will watch A New Hope, but my favorite movie is Empire Strikes Back, and I think we were discussing it earlier. The one new film that I'm really, cause I'm really jazzed about all the new ones, but the one that I really love, and I think I probably will end up watching tomorrow, is Rogue One. I love the fact that, we talk about the Old West, this is a heist movie in space, and I thought it was really, really fun the way that they did it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna have a watch party together?
Well, not too long ago, Easter long weekend is always Star Wars marathon weekend. Showcase does the great. They just keep playing them over and over again all weekend, and it pretty much is the only channel I watch on Easter long weekend.
Nice.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think that wraps it up for the Star Wars stuff. Just a couple of reminders for you. So this next week coming starts a new theme on gaming. So please do share all of your thoughts, ideas, favorites in the realm of games, as well as our radio show on Saturday. We're talking about Facebook stuff. We're talking about some controversy in the UK regarding pornography. We're talking about, what else? Apps. Hot 5 apps on the app show have to do with gaming, so
Yes.
keep an eye out
That's
for
on
that.
Sunday.
Yep.
Yeah, and then we've got Global Television coming next week. We've
right.
got 2 segments. On Monday, we're talking about portable, personable water quality filtering, as well as some of the news items. And then on Wednesday, we've got coming up a bunch of air quality monitors. So you can actually check the quality of the air in your home or even on the go. We have a portable one we're going to be showcasing as well.
Right on. And also on Twitter, we're hosting a contest to win one of these bad boys, which is an Adero smart organizing tag system, sort of similar if you've heard of Tile before. In fact, I am going to try out the Adero and try out the Tile system and see what I think of that. So you can look forward to that in a few weeks. But I think that's it for today. So let's sign off, and may the
4th be with you.